All right, welcome to downtown Grand Forks. This is the time and place for the Grand Forks City Council Committee of the Whole meeting. Move on to item number 1, welcome and roll call.
Okay, Weigel.
Here.
Osowski.
Here.
Berg.
Here.
Lenski.
Here.
Friedels.
Here.
Sandy.
Here.
And Veen.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Item number 2, informational items, 2.1's information only for project 8741 2024 Riverside Dam inspection. Ms. Hesselman.
Good evening, Vice President Weigel and members of the committee. The staff report is for information only regarding our 2024 Riverside Dam inspection. We can make this pretty short and sweet. We went out about a month ago, looked at both sides of the dam, took a lot of photos, followed a inspection checklist, and long story short is everything looks good. No significant secondary damming or significant erosion or riprap displacement concerns.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions, thoughts? It's information only. Ms. Osowski.
How often do you inspect the dam?
Annually.
Annually?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Seeing no further discussion, we'll move on to item number 2.2, Grand Forks Water Treatment Plan redevelopment update. Mr. Phelan.
Council Vice President Weigel, members of the committee of the whole, we have Development Strategies is back in town to provide a further update. There's going to be some steering group meetings tomorrow along with an open house, and Justin Carney is here from Development Strategies to give you an update. As you said, we wanted to really kind of move this project forward to the end of the year and early next. And as you recall, I think we have about a $6 million drinking water SRF loan that's tied to the demolition, but we wanted to get through this process, have the city council approve on a way forward, and then we'd start moving forward with RFPs on the redevelopment. And then, of course, as part of that, the city would propose to move forward with the demolition. So with that, Justin's got about a 10-minute presentation to give you an update, and I just want to remark that Councilmember Vian and Councilmember Berg are also on this stakeholder group meeting representing the city of Grand Forks. So thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Council. It's good to see all of you. It's good to be back in town. A little bit cooler than it was the last time we were here, but we'll take it. It was nice day to walk around this afternoon. So quick, I'm going to go through kind of where we've been, just to remind everybody, you all know why we're here, but if there's anybody in the audience that doesn't know, we're here to really talk about the redevelopment of the water treatment plant site just south of downtown. And part of that process, part of that visioning process is to also create a district strategy to be thinking not only about the redevelopment of the site, but how it fits with the downtown area and how we can connect that site to the broader downtown. We're right in the middle of the process. We saw you all a couple months ago. We had a great virtual steering committee meeting just about two or 3 weeks ago, and getting them up to speed on where we're at. As Todd said, we will be having a steering committee meeting and a public open house tomorrow, that's where we're at in the process with a few more months to go. Just a quick hit on kind of where the work that we've done to date since we saw all of you. One of the first things that we did was really dive into a lot of the community plans that are already existing for Grand Forks, really zeroing in on the Downtown Action Plan, the Downtown Gateway and Greenway Master Plan as two of the kind of more informative kind of community visions that we want to leverage then thinking about our site, thinking about how we make downtown and our site a destination, really complementing and not competing with all of the momentum and growth that we talked about the last time we were here, and then really starting to think about that connectivity, not only to the downtown but to the neighborhoods and particularly to the riverfront and the Greenway. And we heard from Meredith just the other day that you all received the $3.4 million first phase of implementation, and we think that's really great. And I think to be able to kind of leverage these opportunities as we're thinking about implementation, I think is going to be really exciting. Some of the other work that we've been doing, we've had conversations with developers, particularly the developers that are working downtown, to really understand development economics, what's going on with the new development and how well it's performing. And really the information that we've been getting from that side of things is really going to help us understand the development feasibility and thinking about kind of costs and value and trade-offs as we get into the next phase of the plan. We'd also been talking with a small focus group, if you will, of social service providers. As we have, I think, talked about the last time we were here and explored a little bit more, there are a lot of social service providers in that district area that we're planning for, and really wanted to get a sense from them of what they saw from a physical and investment and infrastructure kind of perspective, how we might be thinking about their use and maintaining their use in that district as we put the strategy together. We've also been put together a project website. There is our first project video. It's really just an introduction to the study. So if you haven't seen the video, it's about a minute and a half. A way to really kind of easy way to get the public understanding what we're trying to accomplish. And we'll have a couple of more project videos detailing kind of the next phases of concept and design and vision on the website. I guess also just to highlight, we've also been doing a little bit of promotion for the public meeting tomorrow night, and putting out infographics through the social media for the city. So what have we learned so far? We've done a whole lot of work. I'm going to just scratch the surface here. Please, I'm happy to answer any questions you all might have as I kind of walk through this quickly. When we were here last time, we spent hours and hours and hours walking around the site, walking around downtown, walking the greenways and the open spaces and the parks, and just understanding, really the assets and the opportunities and what we might be anchoring this site to from a downtown perspective, and really understanding those existing conditions. Understanding the site analysis, what's there now, what's around it, from the greenways to the parks to the south to the neighborhood to the west, and then thinking about that connectivity from the site north to downtown, and really understanding the opportunities there, and what 3rd Street looks like, what Franklin Avenue looks like, what 4th Street looks like, and how they might play into the redevelopment of the site. As we start to broaden that perspective into that district analysis and really looking at what's going on around the site, we're looking at the building stock. We're looking at historic buildings. We're looking at underutilized buildings and opportunities that there might be for redevelopment. Along 4th Street, the buildings and the land use are pretty much set. So there, we're not so much thinking about building stock as we are maybe streetscape enhancements and tying the public realm to the private development. And then, looking at opportunities not only for what does the site connect to, but what are other development opportunities and redevelopment opportunities, again, within that district, drawing from our site into downtown. We've also spent a great deal of time doing a market analysis and looking at kind of the development trends, mostly in residential, retail, and office, as you see here, mostly focused on downtown, but also looking at it citywide. Just a couple of the highlights, when we think about residential, you all are feeling that's a real piece of momentum for the downtown. Multifamily housing stock has nearly doubled downtown in the last 10 years. Thinking about retail, there's been two really significant retail deliveries, both at the Beacon and Franklin on 4th, where they're going to be testing the market a little bit from a retail perspective, and we're going to be keeping our eye on that, I think, as time goes on, to be seeing how that retail responds and what that might help us inform for any potential retail on our site. And then, from an office perspective, we're looking at it, but, post-COVID, the office market is really soft, and there's a lot more risk there. And I just, not really any different in Grand Forks as it is across the country. Knowing that there's a limited opportunity here, it might be able to work in, we'd have to really consider that. So we start to take, all of this market analysis and development trends, and we just start, what are some conclusions we can draw? And, what can happen on our site from a market and marketability standpoint? And these are just some ideas that we're kicking around. I wouldn't even say ideas that we're going to pursue. It's just conclusions that start to get drawn from the market study. It could be a park. Don't think it's necessarily the highest and best use when you've got this gorgeous greenway and other parks downtown. I mentioned kind of, retail being tested downtown, so there's probably limited opportunities for retail, probably more mixed use if we do anything. A standalone opportunity is probably not likely on our site, given its location. When we start thinking about multifamily, yes, it's kind of a straightforward market opportunity. You could go vertical and mix it with other uses, but multifamily apartments is really, a ripe market opportunity. For sale residential, we've been hearing from folks as we've been having our conversations with developers and the steering committee and others saying that the for sale opportunity is something that the city would like to see explored. So we'll probably be working that in to our thoughts. And then storefront retail, ground floor retail, how do those work? Probably not so much as a standalone as much as it would be from a mixed use sort of perspective. So just some high level conclusions that we're starting to draw from the market analysis. So we take a lot of this input, the district analysis, the site analysis, the market analysis, and we just start thinking, what are some scenarios that we could start to use to frame some ideas? These are just framing ideas for us. You might be looking at lower density residential, something like townhomes. It might, satisfy some of the rental and some of the home ownership opportunities. You certainly have some missing middle housing there, but there's probably limited public benefit. And that's been a big thing that we heard from you all from the start of the project. You could be thinking about a scenario where you're going vertical. You're really maximizing the residential opportunity and the returns on that investment. You'd have more missing middle. You'd bring a whole lot more people down to the site, down to downtown, and really add to the vibrancy of having that residential component as part of your downtown. And another concept, another scenario, worth exploring is going big. Going vertical, maximizing revenue, but really, doing it in a way that creates a one-of-a-kind destination, that brings people down not only from a residential standpoint, but from a visitor standpoint, and creating a public amenity that really capitalizes on, you all owning this site and where it is. So these are just some scenarios to get people thinking about, the different scales and the different ideas that we will explore as we start to put some concrete concepts in front of the steering committee and eventually in front of the public and you all. I breezed through that. That work to date and what we've learned so far has been a really solid 3 months of effort. I'm happy to answer any questions. I also, would invite you to, we have a steering committee meeting tomorrow morning. We have a public open house from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Hive tomorrow night, and invite you all. We could, spend some time, having some one-on-one conversations and fill you all in a little more depth. You can see some next steps here, working with the steering committee on some concepts and really starting to flesh out some of those scenarios. We're about a half a step behind with the general public. They're going to get more of an introduction, understanding what we're trying to accomplish and what we've learned to date. And we'll start doing some more online engagement with the public shortly after this trip. With that, like I said, invite everybody to the open house, and that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Comments, thoughts, informational item?
This is Mike. I got a real quick just
Mr.
comment.
Bell.
So over the weekend, I guess I'll call it reconnaissance. I went to Winnipeg and looked at the Forks, and it really does kind of lay out, population obviously different, but the layout could be obviously really something similar to what we do. I really like the reconditioning of the historic buildings. They've turned those into some incredible restaurants, stores, and then along the Greenway portion, they've kind of stepped it out where you can have some real great gathering areas, some seating. There's a pier out there where folks can go fishing. So I think there's definitely some similarities to what they've done, and it was flourishing. There was so many people there just walking around having a great time. So I definitely think that's something we should look at.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman. I think you will be really surprised by the next round of work that we will have and what we plan to be exploring with the steering committee tomorrow. And you'll start to see some of those big ideas, I think, coming forward. We're excited to get some feedback on that.
President Sandy?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Frudoff. The Forks it's a great example of how their community has taken advantage of the asset in their river and the riverfront that they have. And I agree with Mike wholeheartedly that it's a great opportunity for us. I will reiterate what I said the last time the consultants were here, which was, if we're going to go big, which I think it's hard to argue that adding density downtown would be bad. So, regardless of what surveys or consultants or whatever say, continuing to add density in our core is important for us because the infrastructure is there, and dollar for dollar, it's the best use of space for our community. It would be great, and I'm going to be pushing for owner occupancy in whatever condominiums or apartment unit, condo style are built. The fastest way for people to get out of poverty is home ownership. I'd really like to see us work with local developers to get them to build condominiums that become owner occupied. Thank you, Mr. Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Sandy. Further comments? Seeing none, thank you again for being here, and good luck tomorrow.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Move on to item number 3.1 is application for Class 2 off-sale license from M&K Ventures LLC, doing business as 701 Liquors. Ms. Lundmark.
Vice President Weigel and members of the committee, we have received an application for a new Class 2 off-sale alcoholic beverage license from M&K Ventures LLC, who will do business as 701 Liquor. The proposed location is in the Grove Strip Mall. They have been working there. We're bringing this forward to you a little bit early because they do need to secure a lease, and the business will be looking at opening in spring of 2025, but the landlord wants the guarantee they can have the liquor license. So,
Perfect.
just a straightforward, it has passed background checks over at the police department at this time. No issues noted. I did list the ownership in the staff report. M&K Ventures LLC is owned 50-50 by Kay Derry and Matthew Rowan. They're both here in the audience today, if you have any questions.
Perfect.
I move approval.
We have a motion to approve by Osowski, second by Berg. Ms. Lunsky.
Is it going to be a bar or a liquor store?
No, it's just off sale only.
Thank you.
Seeing no further comments, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Move on to item number 3.2, authorize issuance and set sale date for 6.6 million refunding improvement bond, Series 2024C. Ms. Dorstead.
Yes, thank you, Vice President Weigel, President Sandy, members of the committee. So each year, this time of year, you see me come forward to prepare a bond for this year's special assessment projects. This year, it's estimated at 6.6 million, and it is Series 2024C. Attached is a resolution regarding this bond issuance. It will list in there, among other things, a list of the projects that are included in this bond. Also, as a pre-sale summary, really serves as your guide to the financing of this series. Also includes the timeline and the steps ahead on what's to come, including an upcoming rating call when the bids are to be received, and then when we ultimately get those bond proceeds. We will be having the bids received by Baker Tilly, that serves as our municipal advisor, and they will report those results to you on November 18th. But what I look for tonight to move forward to the City Council is to adopt the resolution authorizing the issuance, call for bids, and set that sale date for November 18th.
Thank you, Ms. Dorstead. Motion by Veen, second by Berg. Comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms.
All
Dorstead.
right, thank you.
Item number 3.3 is North Dakota Partnership for Success. Ms. Wall.
All right, thank you, President Weigel and members of the committee. I come before you today to discuss this funding opportunity provided by the funder of SAMHSA, which is a division of the U.S. Health and Human Services. So around 2022, North Dakota Health and Human Services identified that underage drinking and youth or young adult binge drinking was an issue, and so they decided to write for a grant. So they were awarded this grant last year, and so they've been taking the last year to develop structure around a sub-award. And so Grand Forks has been identified as an eligible service area. And North Dakota Human Services took a data-driven approach, and Grand Forks was identified in the target population category for having a large percentage of population aged 18 to 25, a number of active military personnel present, and the college enrollment count was considered. Here's an overview of the grant opportunity. The recipients of this funding in the state need to be a local public health unit or tribe. It's a 4-year term, and the focus on this grant is primary prevention efforts. And I'll call to attention, there's a attachment in your staff report that focuses on the selective prevention efforts. And so the efforts within this grant target the populations that I mentioned recently. And I wanted to note that there are restrictions with this funding, that it cannot be used for substance use treatment, recovery, or relapse prevention. We do have current work going on within our community around alcohol prevention, although Grand Forks Public Health is not the current coordinator of that. So this funding opportunity would shift that slightly. The current work is through a block grant that Grand Forks Public Health serves as the fiscal agent for, so we call it the SUPTERS grant, and that's sub-awarded to the All True Foundation. So there's been quite an evolution of alcohol prevention within our community that originated via the All True Trauma service line. And so there's a lot of passion and education and generational turnover that has recently occurred within that. And so that's where Grand Forks Public Health went to the brainstorming session to say, how do we bring these funds to our community? And so this situation is we would have to give up the SUPTERS grant if we accept the PFS funding. So I just wanted to make note of that. All True they are aware of that we're eligible for this funding opportunity, and they have preemptively reached out to say they don't have the capacity to take on the additional requirements of the PFS grant. Given the amount of the PFS grant, we are confident that all of the work that's already happening, we can continue to maintain if we do accept the PFS grant. So timing and implementation, why now? As I mentioned, there's kind of a shift in the community expertise as well as capacity, and so we certainly want these dollars to come to our community, as we know this is an important topic. And we do have experts within Grand Forks Public Health that have prevention programming experience. Although it may not be the substance, alcohol, the structure and the approach are oftentimes very similar. And so we wouldn't be looking to add any new positions, but we would leverage the current expertise within our team to continue to lead and coordinate the community prevention and policy systems and environment advocacy. Along with that work, we do have existing partners that we would tap to ensure that a lot of other folks are involved, including area schools, UND, the Grand Forks Air Force Base, local law enforcement, and most importantly, what's called SAPC, or Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition. They, once again, are aware of this and are supportive of us pursuing this funding. This is my final slide, the grant deliverables. So we would ensure that we're maintaining engagement of that coalition. We don't want to reinvent the wheel or duplicate any efforts, and so tapping that group will be extra important. Another key grant deliverable within this grant is to obtain local data. And so the structure of this grant allows for a third-party project coordinator to be leveraged to ensure data integrity and stewarding the process of developing a roadmap and implementation plan for once the data results come to us. And as always, we strive to build towards sustainability, and that's one great thing about the PFS grant is that there's two more years to do that versus the current grant that we have now. Something like that could look like enhanced collaboration with law enforcement on retailer training, enhancement of compliance checks, and decreasing the utilization of false IDs by youth via forensic scanners. Another example would be collaborating with school partners to increase protective factor education. An example of that, I believe Grand Forks Public School District uses the program Sources of Strength. So with that, I can stand for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Wall. Ms. Berg?
Motion approval.
We have a motion to approve the grant, second by Lunsky. Comments by anybody else? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Move on to item number 3.4, change order number 2 for project 8749 2024 storm sewer repairs.
Sherrod, I move approval.
You have a motion to approve, second by Osowski. Seeing no further comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Lieberman. Item number 3.5, create district for project 8833, district number 226, street lighting for 4th Avenue South, Cottonwood to South 3rd Street and Lincoln Drive, Belmont Road to the flood wall. Anybody want to add some new street lighting? We have a motion by Sandy,
I'll second.
second by Veen. Further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Holwager.
Thank you.
Item number 3.6, federal funding for project 8777, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Mr. Kranko.
These are the standard federal programs we apply for each year. The competitive programs we've been fairly successful with because we target the projects, and staff is recommending approval of the selected projects and moving that on to the MPO to forward on to the DOT.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Kranko. We have a motion to approve by Osowski, second by Berg. Seeing no further comments, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously for 3-6, and that'd be A through F. Item number 3.7, PE reimbursement agreement for project 8920 US 2 Gateway Drive, North 55th Street to I-29 CPR dowel retrofit and grind.
Vice President Weigel, members of the committee, this is a standard agreement with North Dakota DOT, specifically for a project along Gateway Drive between North 55th Street and I-29. Project work would include CPR grinding and dowel retrofit. Again, this is standard agreement where essentially what it states is that the DOT agrees to proceed with preliminary engineering and construction, and that the city agrees to reimburse the DOT for all expenses if the city terminates or materially reduces the project scope.
Move approval.
We have a motion to approve by Sandy, second by Osowski. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 3.8, create district, approve engineers report and task order for project 8921, District 612, 8922, District 613, 8923, District 614, Highway 81, and associated area sanitary sewer phases 3 through 5.
Thank you, Vice President Weigel, members of the committee. So before you've got 3 different projects. This is part of the annexation effort that's been going on up in the Highway 81 area, north of 27th Avenue. This is specific to just the sanitary sewer. We have already bid and are under construction for the first 2 phases of the sanitary sewer. On the agenda tonight are the next 3 phases of the sanitary sewer. You might be asking why we're bringing 3 phases tonight when the 4th and 5th phases won't be constructed until 26 and 27. On the first 2 phases of the sanitary sewer, we've been utilizing SRF funding, and we plan to use the SRF funding on the last 3 phases as well. However, in order to utilize the SRF funding on those 3 projects as one loan, we have to have assessment districts in place to secure the loan. So tonight, we're looking to bring forward an assessment district for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th phases of the sanitary sewer, as well as the associated engineers' reports for them. And then also on the staff report tonight is a task order with WFW Engineering for just the 3rd phase. We'll bring back a task order for the 4th and 5th phases once we get closer to the design and construction of those. But tonight, we're looking for approval of the engineers' reports for all 3 projects, creation of the district for all 3 projects, and then approval of a task order with WFW in the amount of about $257,000 for just phase 3 of the sanitary sewer in the 81 area.
I have a question.
Mrs. Sowski?
So they are going to be special assessed?
So as with the first 2 phases of the sanitary sewer up in this area, we are assessing them, but the city is assuming all of the special
Okay,
assessments.
so it's not going
Correct.
on to,
We have to create the
Is it-
districts just
okay.
because we're assessing ourselves for it, but
Okay, great.
the city is assuming those assessments.
okay, I move approval.
We have a motion to approve by Osowski, second by Veen. Comments for Mr. Danielson? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Danielson. Item number 3.9, task order amendment for project 8489, Highway 81, associated area sanitary sewer phase 1 and 2.
Thank you, Vice President Weigel, members of the committee.
I move approval, Mr. Wong.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Sandy, second by Ms. Osowski. Seeing no further comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item 310, create district approve engineers report and task order for project 8576, 8577, Highway 81 associate area water main phases 2 and 3. We have a motion to approve by Berg, second by Osowski. Any comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item 311, create district approve engineers report and task order for project 8926, 27th Avenue North at North 32nd Street, 27th Avenue North to 30th Avenue North storm sewer project.
Move approval.
We have a motion to approve by Osowski, second by Sandy. Further comment? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Danielson, for your brief work tonight. 312, plans and specs for project number 8820.1 and 8820.2 corporate and central ramp improvements at 55th South 5th Street and 415 First Avenue North. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Chair Weigel. This is for both parking ramps in downtown, both central and corporate ramp. We're doing some planned updates and fixes to the ramp. We have some pieces that we need to go in there and repair. This is part of the design of that ramp, that some of those need to go in and get repaired on occasion. And right now, our estimate right now is about a little over $2 million for that work. This is to put those bids out there and hopefully get those back in the next month, and we'll see where we're at with the plans and specs.
I move approval.
We have a motion to approve by Osowski, second by Berg. Questions, Mr. Bean?
Yeah, just wondering, especially with the central ramp, how old was that one?
Oh, it's in the 80s. It's probably in the report. I do not know that off the top of my head, but I want to say
It's been around for a long time.
It has, yes. Yep.
Has there been any discussions about retrofitting or beautification of that? You know, it's got that same facade from
Yep.
40 years ago, and it would be nice with all the work that we've done downtown and the enhancements we've done now on 4th Street, that somehow we look at some better beautification of that ramp.
Yeah, thank you for that. That is certainly something that we've been looking at. We've been trying to kind of get these initial pieces up and then try to build back up our reserve, but that is something that we've looked at, is trying to improve the look of that ramp, because it certainly doesn't have the same look as the other ramp. So it is in our CIP piece for the future. We just knew that we had to put our money towards kind of these initial pieces that we think are a little bit pieces that would have to get done first, but that is something that we have on the horizon. Thank you.
Further comments? Mr. Brooks, I would just say I appreciate the city doing this before it becomes a larger issue like we've seen with our neighbors across the street. So I think it's good to get some of this stuff taken care of as soon as we can while it's still a couple million, but it's going to cost more over the next 5, 10, or 20 years. So thank you for that work. We have a motion and a second. No further comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 4 is action items. 4.1, plans and specs for Project 8722 North 4th Street, reconstruct 1st and 2nd Avenue North. Mr. Grasser.
Thank you. This is a follow-up from the council meeting. And, as we've been doing some follow-up, we find out that, as is often typical, it boils down to a communication issue. And I think city staff didn't communicate everything adequately to, all the interested parties. So we take ownership of that. So in the meantime, since last week, we have had some meetings, with various interested individuals. And I think at the conclusion of those meetings, I think we're all in a pretty good place relative to understanding what the project, is and those types of things. But because this is approving plans and specs, we did ask the lead design engineer, Melissa Knutson, to take maybe just show the layout of the 4th Street plans. They're pretty interesting. She has been involved in all of the urban grant projects that we've done in the city. She is expert, bar none, in my opinion, relative to understanding the program, the technical pieces, and how to fit the complexities of a project, meeting all those standards within a reconstruction. So I'll ask her to come up. We'll stand for any questions and go from there. So with that, I'd like to introduce Melissa Knutson, CPS.
Thank you, Mr. Grasser. Welcome, Ms. Knudsen.
Thank you. If we could have the...
I'm trying to find this thing here. It's down here. Does that look like it?
Yeah. That is great.
There you go, lady.
Yeah, thank you. All right. We discussed a little bit last week the timeline of the project, so unless anybody has any questions about that, I just have the privilege of going over some of the features of this great project downtown that we have for you. As we've discussed, this project does run on the 4th Street corridor from 1st Avenue North to 2nd Avenue North. And in general, it is just really an extension of the ongoing beautification and feature improvement efforts that have been spurred by Governor Burgum's initiatives for the downtown area. In addition to the obvious street reconstruction and making the roadway more functionally current and better in condition, correcting all those types of engineering issues that we all just kind of take for granted every day, that when we drive down the road everything will work, there won't be any bumps. That's great. But in addition to that, it really does provide some functional features that aren't as visible on the surface. Let me just make sure that you can see here if I point. The streetscaping that's involved downtown will include decorative sidewalk that does match into the efforts that were done on Demers Avenue, North 3rd, North 4th, and continue that look. The beautiful pillars, light pillars that have been constructed on those adjacent projects will be carried through as part of a separate initiative, but the basis for them will be constructed as part of this project. There will be park benches, there will be bike racks along there that really help the user along that. And in addition to that, we forget about things like making life easier for those who need ADA accommodations. All the corridor has been redesigned in order to be more functionally accessible, to meet ADA accessibility guidelines throughout that corridor, to provide not only an accessible path for them, but also designated routes from point A to point B along the corridor. Easier said than done in a situation where everything is existing and you still have to get to all the places that exist. There will be drainage improvements out there. We want to make the street drain better. Right now, the center of the street is really high, and so when we have inundations of rain, things like that, there's sometimes things you can't see where now, say you have an issue with one of the drainage features, the new design will allow the street to overflow and that water to be redirected to another drainage feature before it hits the buildings. So it's kind of interesting, it looks pretty simple on the page, but we're kind of excited to talk about all our geekiness. So with that, does anybody have any questions about what's included?
Questions? I've got one question.
Sure.
As far as parking goes, are we losing any spots? Are we gaining any spots along there?
You do lose a couple, and the only reason that you lose them is because of the integration of the pedestrian bump outs.
Okay.
And so they just take a little bit more space. Other than that, we have tried to incorporate back as many as were there that will fit.
Perfect, thank you. We have a motion to approve by Osowski, a second by Berg. Further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for joining us. Item number 5, City Council member discussion matters. Ms. Osowski?
No, thank you.
Ms. Berg?
I just want to point out that it is Indigenous Peoples' Day, and so I want to recognize that here today. Otherwise, nothing else.
Thank you. Ms. Lunsky? Mr. Bean? Mr. Friedolfs?
No, sir.
President Sandy?
No, thank you.
I also have nothing. Ms. Oskowski, I'm
move
assuming we'll
adjournment.
make a motion to adjourn. Second by Berg. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.